everybody, my name is Souls Convoy and today I'm taking a look at Iron Romance Workshop Super Robot Legend 02 Getter Jinki. That entire long phrase basically translates to, this is Iron Factory's take on Black Getter in their samurai style, and it's licensed. That might be more familiar to my audience who have seen me review Iron Factory figures, which is a third-party Transformers company, for those of you who are fans of Getter Robo who are finding this video. Iron Factory generally is not a licensed production company, but this time they've actually been licensed by Dynamic Productions to produce this stylized samurai-esque figure of Black Getter. The box it comes in is absolutely gigantic because it has a ton of accessories. So you can see that it absolutely dwarfs the figure, who completely is visible through this gap. There's some good artwork, but it's mostly pictures of the toy, and that's that. But it is huge and it's massive, and I thought when I got the box that shows the store which I got this at, I'll put a link in the description, had sent me something else by mistake. Taking a look at the figure itself, I think this is a really nice take on a stylized samurai getter. I mean, I think like the concept works really well, especially for a more super robot character than hard mecha, because this is like a design I could realistically see like a kind of, I don't know, like a spin-off offshoot like Getter property doing something like this at some point. You know, I mean, I know that some other companies have had success adding samurai motifs to existing properties, like that one SH Figure Arts line, and I think Sentinel is doing Unit 01 from Evangelion in a samurai style, so it is pretty successful and it does always look awesome. Moving on to the figure itself, I mean, the visual presentation is really nice, especially for like an Iron Factory release. The paintwork here, I gotta give credit to. I gotta give props to the paintwork. The way they've done like the cape with this combination of black and like maroon on the inside, I mean, the way they've done that is just really nice. It looks really good and it presents really well in hand. You can kind of really see it here. The contrast of the black is really nice. There's some also great paintwork here, the gold picked out and some blue, and then there's a blue up here. I mean, the face, I'll get into more once I remove the scarf, but I mean, the face is also done really well, gold paint. The sculpting is also really on point and it feels properly sculpted. There's no really sharp surfaces except for things that are meant to be sharp, like for example the Getter Razor or this katana that's inside this forearm mounted sheath, which is decked out in painted detail and presents beautifully. On the rear, it's also pretty clean. He does parts for him to get into his Getter machine modes, but that's par for the course for super robots. I think the Transformers fans might not be expecting that. Also, I've seen people complaining about the toes. I think they fit the aesthetic just fine. It's not really a huge complaint. He's even got like these ropes. There's like an Oni mask with a massive septum piercing here, which is awesome. And it's just generally a really cool aesthetic overall. I want to get into the articulation, so I'm going to remove the scarf piece. And the way you do that is just you basically pull his head up all the way. There's a ton of joints there. And you just untap it from there. And then you bring the head forward, and then you bring off the rear piece. They're hard plastic, by the way, so just be a little bit careful. But they don't feel fragile or brittle at all. It also unveils some little extra gold paint here, gold paint. And let me just get in on that head sculpt right before I talk about how posable it is, because I haven't yet. That's a pretty gorgeous head sculpt, if I do say so myself. The designing of this like mouth region, which you know is a mask, but it also has like the illusion of a mouth through the shaping of it, like the Oni masks that samurai helmets used to have, which were really cool. It kind of gets that same vibe going. Like, it's obviously a mouth plate, but it does also feel like a mouth. Anyways, really cool touch. Also gold paint, this wonderful like tealish aqua blue, I don't know, looks awesome. There's 3 joints in the head. He has 2 neck joints and a ball joint for his head. So you have a neck joint deep at the base, which can actually get you that far down. Obviously, the scarf will hinder a lot of it. There's another neck joint in the middle, which is more for transformation. It's a hinge as well. And the main joint for the neck is obviously this ball joint, which does have some squeak. I will say it does squeak a bit. you know, Iron Factory is usually pretty good about tolerances nowadays. They've kind of gone away from their old days of things being way too tight and needing shock oil. And that does not need shock oil, but it is a little bit tighter than I'd expect. His cape can, let me zoom out so you can actually see what I'm saying. His cape can hinge upwards on this hinge in his back. And it also has these two pieces that are on swivels so they can like flare in and then flare out, which is awesome. So it can really like get different, more dynamic looks depending on what you want. It just tabs in a tab and slot connection underneath that Oni mask. These parts can also move out of the way on ball joints, by the way. The shoulder pads are where a lot of the magic is for the posability. They're on a hinge assembly. And if that makes any sense, they move up at this hinge. This is a double rocker, so like there's two hinges there that work in tandem that you can do whatever you want with. And then there's a hinge here which controls most of the elevation you see for the shoulder pad. Basically what this means is that you can pose him however you want and then pose the shoulder pad to accommodate whatever you did, because he does have 360 degree shoulders, right? They're just sometimes impeded by this or by the shoulder pad itself. He has a 90 degree butterfly joint inwards, which is awesome. He has, I suppose, it's kind of hard to see the joint itself because of the darkness, but the darkness, Jesus, it's just a little bit dark in here. You can get more than 90 up, and he does have a biceps. I will say the bicep swivel is tight, and it's kind of hard to get leverage because there's other joints around it, but you can get 360 on that bicep swivel as well. And then moving that down, we can also get 180 degrees at the elbow. It does unveil this, which is where his arms come off for his transformation. So there is that, but it does not look too ugly from any angle, honestly. We also have a ball jointed wrist assembly, not where the wrist itself connects to swap hands, by the way. There's just a dedicated massive ball joint there that allows for a ton of range of the wrist, which is awesome for expressiveness. And again, the shoulder pad can go up to here, right? It can go like here, it can go there, it can do everything you want it to do. It's a wonderful design for a shoulder, and I wish more things would adopt it. Moving on to other parts of his body. Let me try and get his arms up and out of the way because we want to take a look at his... Oh yeah, also the getter razor on his forearm has like a hinge there, and the blades are individually hinged. And the katana assembly has like a double hinge assembly as well, so you can get these out of the way or do whatever you want with them. The torso has a lot going on. I'll move that out of the way as well. So as you engage the ab crunch, it is going, there's an Oni mask right there as well as a demon face, I guess. It is going to reveal a lot, and it can get a lot. So when you use everything in tandem, you can get almost like, I guess I want to say 65 degrees of ab crunch, right? And it's really nice how it stays filled in on a transforming figure even. But yeah, it can do a lot. There's like multiple joints working in tandem there. There is, let me make sure he's fully collapsed. There is a teapot joint, and I think it gets you around 15 degrees, which is respectable for a teapot. These hip skirts are attached in the back of the ball joints, which is super common among super robot and mecha companies nowadays. And it does give you like a waist swivel. I believe you pull up the torso, and that'll give you more clearance for the waist, which is pretty awesome. So you can get almost 90 degrees of waist swivel, which is dope. These also have hinges here, so they can hinge like that, and they can hinge like that, but you don't really need it with the ball joint. And then here, this can hinge forwards. But again, you don't need it to, because unlike what you're expecting, he can actually get a lot of kick without even having to move that. And then I believe he can almost go even more, but it does get at least 90 degrees of kick. You can't really see it that well, but the setup for the hips is kind of similar to New Age Sludge. It does get back, I want to say like 20 degrees, so not a ton. I would like more, but it's fine. I mean, you don't really need more at all. You can get out to around, I want to say yeah, right around 90. And we do have a thigh swivel that should get you like, I guess, 45 degrees in both direction. And then let's combine that with oh yeah, also the back skirt can kick up like all the way to get out of the way. Let's combine that with what is basically a 170 degree knee bend, I think. Camera got tilted. 170 degree knee bend, which is awesome. And then finally for the ankles, we get like 90 degrees of tilt. You get a swivel. You get like some down and then some up, but the joint, the down and up is like super tight. So, and then you also do have a toe bend, which is not really that useful. Oh my God. It's not really that useful because there's not that much mass on the toes, so they can't really like support anything. But for the most part, he is very posable, very articulated, so he can take advantage of the breadth of accessories he comes with. Aside from the ones that are attached to his body, I don't really know whether or not to call these accessories or part of his design, because like every depiction of it, like the Getter Razor is non-removable, so I don't really think it's an accessory. It's just like attached to him. This is also non-removable. This is removable. You can pop that out, pop that off, and this does remove. I just want to say this is beautifully painted, wonderfully painted. The hilt is painted, but I've slid it in and out of his hands a few times with no issue. There's a little click, and then out comes the katana, and that looks gorgeous, I will say. It's not really focusing on it, but yeah, there you go. There's also this really nice, painted alteration between two shades of gray and silver on the blade to drive it home. The sword is very well painted. And the way this attaches is just on this piece right here. It goes like, you line it up, and Jesus, I like swallowed dry air, and now my voice is even more hoarse than normal. Hoarse. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it properly. It's just more hoarse. I've become equestrian. So yeah, that tabs in like that, and then you can just slide this sword back in. Alternatively, we can get into his breadth of alternate hands, which includes 2 pairs of these weapon holding hands. I mean, 1 pair of weapon holding hands. The other one is holding his other accessory, the Getter Tomahawk. And you can just take a holding hand. You can take the sword. You remove the hilt. You slide it in the side. And again, I've done this multiple times. No damage to that wonderful paint, which is awesome. Slide that back on. And then you have his hand holding the katana. And you can remove both of his hands, which is very easy actually. They peg in, and you think the pegs are too small to like support the hands, but in reality they have like ridges on them which like click into place, which is a really smart choice. So I can, peg in the hand with the tomahawk, and that one just goes on really securely because I haven't used the left holding hand that much, so it's not broken in yet. And the tomahawk is heavy enough that it shifts the center of balance, by the way. Center of mass, I'm sorry. And then you can plug that in. And you can dual wield. The katana is new to this figure, but the Getter Tomahawk is an iconic weapon. The way that comes on is very similar to the katana. You just remove this piece, slide this upwards, and then do that. Aside from these hands, which are now holding these weapons, he also has a pair of... he has a pair of each, but I'm just going to show you one of each. He has a pair of these spike blade hands, which are basically like these knuckle things we showed before, extending into spikes. And then he has a pair of open hands. So I can just put one of each on. So there's an open hand, and there's a spike hand. So there you go. All of these accessories conveniently store inside a pocket on his included display stand, which also has a magnetic cover, which clips on the magnet that says Super Robot Legend, which is really cool and feels nice. You can kind of put them on there. This does peg in there. There's a stand adapter there, but it's really hard to get into on camera. so I'm just not going to attempt it. Otherwise, in terms of accessories, we also have an alternate torso piece, which can attach to this getter beam effect. Removing this stomach piece is a little bit difficult without removing his chest. I'm going to try. There we go. So you just pop off that stomach piece. You might have to like slowly slide his chest back and start mistransforming it. And then you can just plug that on right there. And that looks pretty cool. So you have this getter beam. Move that. I didn't plug it in all the way so that I could take it off easily. And then put this back, which is easier said than done. And to round off this very long accessory segment, we also do have like the other two Oni masks. Each one of the getter machines gets its own Oni mask. This one is for Jaguar, this one is for Bear, and this one is for Eagle. And we can remove these on ball joints. I am not going to do it on camera because it requires finesse. He comes with small adapters that attach to the back of these that have ball joints at the end, and you can peg them right here. Again, I'm not going to do that. I don't like popping these ball joints off at all. And I don't like how this looks. And I'm not going to attempt to pop these off on camera. But you can put those on the back. But be warned that it doesn't eliminate parts forming for the transformation. You're still going to have leftover parts in robot mode no matter what. Now you're just going to have these left over. So it's just an option if you want to like add more Oni masks to his back. Otherwise, again, I talked about the cape in detail, so I'm not going to attach it again, but I am going to move on to size comparisons. So here he is. He stands about 5.5 inches tall, and that's around the same size as a modern Hasbro Deluxe, or I guess this guy's like a bigger Deluxe. And then there's a core. And then I don't really have many other figures in this scale that would like, I guess, be appropriate. Here's SH Figure Arts Ultraman 7 from Ultraman the anime. So he's not quite like 1/12 human scale, I guess. I don't even know if SHF is fully 1/12 or not. But that should give you a general idea of size. And for a more apt comparison, I guess like thematically and stylistically, and to the viewers of this channel, here's one of my most recent Iron Factory reviews, which is their Death Cobra. So he kind of towers over him. And then here is another Iron Factory Samurai figure, which I feel great shame and failure for not having reviewed on this channel because I adore it. Iron Factory's Oni Varja, or their version of Lockdown. So you can see that they kind of match that same aesthetic, whereas Death Cobra, which is more like a regular Iron Factory figure, feels a bit out of place. I'm going to get him transformed into his, or well, reassembled into his individual getter machines, and we'll take a look at those. Here are the 3 getter machines on the included display stand. We have Bear, Eagle, and Jaguar. I'm going to take a look at each one. Here's my favorite of the 3, Jaguar. Jaguar is made from his shins and feet, and also from Black Getter's torso and shoulders. This is a parts forming piece, and this is a parts forming piece. They don't really do anything in robot mode. You can attach these to the back, but again, it's a hassle. Here's a quick size comparison with core class bombers. They're all around the same size. This one's the cleanest to me. It feels the most swooshable, and despite being the most involved transformation, it's really fun to put together. All of these are actually pretty fun transformation wise. I actually really enjoy them despite, you know, kind of having to assemble them. This is a part of the tomahawk, which is really cool. The way that all 3 of them use a piece of the tomahawk is awesome. But yeah, very swooshable, very fun. The next one is probably my, I don't know, I'm kind of conflicted on this one. This is Bear. Bear is using like the main part of the tomahawk. Bear also looks like nothing. It's very much like a nothing mode. It's just like this cockpit piece is basically all the things that tell you what it is. And this mask, or this Oni face really, but for the most part, Bear is like just like a blob. It's just like a blob of black plastic. And that's one of the problems of the repaint set, the Black Getter repaint, is that like these are just amorphous blobs of black plastic, whereas in the actual Getter Robo regular release, these are a lot more memorable, I think, because they are different colors. And then this one is obviously Getter Eagle, which is made of his head and his arms. That's why the Getter Razor and these Katana Iron Factory added are maintained. And it looks pretty cool. It uses no extra parts running pieces actually, but for some reason it doesn't feel very complete to me. And this is from the Tomahawk. So that's it for the alternate modes, and I will do my final thoughts for the 3 in a second. Final thoughts for, I'm just gonna say Iron Factory Black Getter, or Iron Romance Workshop Getter Jinki, SRL-02, whatever they want to call it, huge name. As Iron Factory's first foray into licensed figures, this mold is stellar. It's one of their best ever, honestly, because it has an incredibly involved parts forming assembly transformation that somehow manages to not go through the usual Iron Factory pitfall of being like an annoying mass of massaging things into place. Like, there are parts in the instruction manual I looked at and I'm like, oh, this is gonna suck. And it didn't. It was painless, it was smooth, it was fun, and everything just clicks in place without any type of like hesitation or massaging or anything like that. It's a very fun, intuitive parts forming assembly. I don't want to call it a transformation because someone will be like, but there's so many extra parts. It's really not. There's like 4 extra parts for like split between 2 different alternate modes. It's like 2 parts for 2 of the 3 modes. That's it. But for the most part, very fun. The robot mode is fantastic. The design is fantastic. The posability is fantastic. The paintwork where it's applied is wonderful, and the general hand feel and posing experience is also great. The tolerances are also pretty good. There's a little bit of inconsistency here and there, like that squeaky head, but for the most part, not really a huge issue. I do wish that maybe, just maybe, I'm not a huge fan of attaching hip skirts to the rear, but the ball joints they use are super nice and have a lot of good range, so that's fine. The alternate modes I feel are a little bit wasted on this with black repaint. Black Getter doesn't even do the Getter change, honestly. And the monotony makes them feel like more like amorphous blobs, whereas if you went and got like the original Getter Robo, you would get a lot more out of the 3 Getter machine. So I recommend that if you care more about the transformation. This version adds the Katana, it adds the Getter Razor, it adds the Getter Spike Blades, it adds the iconic scarf. Right, it looks raw as hell. So if you care more about the Getter Robo himself, definitely go for Black Getter, in my opinion. It's only $5 more and it comes with a boatload of more stuff. For $80, this is $80 is a lot of money, but consider the fact that a New Age Dinobot that is smaller and comes with like 1/10 of the amount of stuff this comes with and has almost none of the posing ability is around the same price. And that's very sobering. This is not a 5-inch tall third-party Legends toy. This is a 5-inch tall metal build toy, which is just not having any metal, but it delivers the full experience aside from like, the inner diecast frame. And I think that's super cool. It's kind of like metal build for the median collector, which means that like, yes, $8 is expensive, but you can afford it if you save up for it. It's not like a $200 to $300 toy, even among the affordable metal builds like Mosho or CCS. I guess you could say it's Legend scale CCS. And I do wonder if this is the future for Iron Factory. They've always been really slow, but I'm pretty sure this was revealed this year and was prototype staged a few months later, and now it's released. I think this was all done within a year, and they already have a prototype for their next release in this line, which I think is Mazinger. And I do wonder that perhaps officially licensed toys are the future for Iron Factory. I think the third-party scene is a little bit insufferable at times for them to be in. And I guess a lot of people have had a really negative reaction to their samurai stuff and have abandoned the line. So I wouldn't be surprised if they've kind of shifted more to what they've always wanted to do, because Iron Factory has always been a passion project company first and foremost. They make what they want to make. And if this is what they want to make, I am on board. I really enjoy this figure and I look forward to seeing what else they do. I have a link in the description to where I got it. Full recommend for me if you're into Getter Robo. Almost a must-have, honestly. This is a fantastic set. But yeah, pick this up, watch Getter Robo Armageddon. All right, that's all I have to say. Peace.